Despite my beliefs being significantly more left than his, I actually fuck with Zohran Mamdani a lot. I find it very difficult to not like him.
I'm so sorry, but absolutely nothing! Cheese counterfeit, these nigga bitches. I'm talking about running off with pounds, man, you know I'm with it. I'm talking about chop 100 round, man, they get the...
But that begs the question, why? I don't live in New York City, and I am, for the most part, filthy common trash. So why would I care about electoral politics? I want to say that I care because I'm not one of you stupid-ass armchair revolutionaries, but let's choose kindness today. I think that democratic socialism becoming the norm of the Democratic Party is a good thing. A great thing, in fact. It brings socialism to the mainstream, making it more relatable, desirable, and destigmatizing it after years of bullshit Red Scare propaganda. Also, I am a communist out of my love for the working class. I support anything that will alleviate the material suffering of the working class everywhere. That is what Zohran's campaign aims to do with their community. His policies are great solutions in an actionable time frame, a lot faster than just waiting for revolution like it's rapture. Before we go further, let's clarify something important. Got to make sure we're all on the same page. I am not getting paid for this. I support Zohran, but this has absolutely nothing to do with his campaign. I gain nothing from this. This is an outlet for my personal malice and frustration. I am just hating for the absolute love of the game.
What do you wish more people knew about Andrew Cuomo?
That he's a fucking asshole.
Chapter 1.1. Andrew Cuomo is the establishment. Whatever I decide to title this video will have Cuomo's name in it. He is the core focus of my criticism of liberal politicians, but not the core motivations for making this video. In reality, this is a video of why I hate liberal politicians. I'm not choosing to single out Cuomo just because he's currently a popular subject. I am choosing to single out Andrew Cuomo because within him exists a strong case study for every gripe I and many others have with the party, and you will see exactly what I mean soon enough. I would struggle to find a stronger example today. Since the average person probably isn't as knowledgeable of who Andrew Cuomo is, let's perform a quick little biography. Chapter 1.2, Andrew Cuomo's pre-governor lore. Andrew Mark Cuomo is a New York politician. This is rather easy for him to become as he is a political nepo baby. His father, Mario Cuomo, was governor of New York. There's not much special to say about Cuomo's career before he was governor. First served as the HUD secretary under President Clinton. You know, these sex pests really do run in flocks, don't they? Anyway, after the end of the Clinton administration, he went private sector. He tried to run for governor of New York in 2002, but, lost. In 2008, much like the rest of the white racist Democrats, they said some racially charged statements about Obama when he was running for president. Here's the direct quote. "You can't shuck and jive at a press conference. You can't just put off reporters because you have real people looking at you saying, answer the question." The Cuomo camp claimed that this was taken out of context, and he wasn't talking about Obama. More proof that liberal politicians think the American people are fucking stupid. Shuck and jive has only ever referred to one race, and only one presidential candidate happened to be of said race. Then again, I forgot that racism is only an issue for Republicans do it. My mistake. Chapter 1.3. Andrew Cuomo as governor. In 2010, Obama made the boss call and told the current governor of the time to not run for re-election and let the popular attorney general of New York run instead. Seeing the crumbling support, the governor did step aside. And who was this popular attorney general in question? Cuomo. Cuomo went on to be governor of New York, winning multiple re-elections. Everything I said about him so far isn't that bad, right? Just, typical liberal shit. Then COVID happened. Cuomo was stuffing people infected with COVID into nursing homes rather than literally anything else.
I was one of the people that would, unfortunately was here when he was sticking people in here that had COVID, and they was side by side with us instead of them, being on their own unit. People getting coughing and other people getting infected and with that shit, and led to a lot of people dying, a lot of people getting sick. I even got sick. It was bodies being carried out of here left and right while they complimenting this man on doing a good job, when he actually did a fucked up job.
More than 9,000 recovering coronavirus patients in New York State were released from hospitals into nursing homes early in the pandemic under a controversial directive that was scrapped amid criticism it accelerated outbreaks, according to new records obtained by the Associated Press. Then he lied about the numbers to cover up the amount of fucking old people he killed.
But the question is whether or not it's political and whether or not your congressional testimony was truthful. Were you, now that you've had time to reflect, involved in producing that report that undercounted those nursing home deaths?
Oh, there was no doubt that my administration produced the report, and it did not undercount the deaths.
Okay, but you're still saying you were not involved in producing it.
It's very clear. That's the Trump line, the MAGA line, right? Because this was during the Trump reelection.
Okay.
He goes into the nursing home, nothing to do with COVID.
Nothing to do with COVID.
He doesn't have COVID.
And let me be clear, the nursing home administrator knew how active we were in his health. He came to me and said, Daniel, we got a problem. The governor's forcing us to take COVID positive patients.
This is the order where he said no resident shall be denied admission and readmission solely based on a COVID diagnosis. This order was in place for 6 weeks. Even though the death toll was mounting, we were thinking that if you had 55 deaths in Cobble Hill and there's 620 nursing homes, we figured out that the death toll was more than 15,000.
But surely they didn't lie about the numbers that much, right? Maybe they just undercounted by 10% or 15%. Sure, that's definitely still bad, but there's no way they lied about more than that, right? Since March, Attorney General James has been investigating nursing homes throughout New York State based on allegations of patient neglect and other concerning conduct that may have jeopardized the health and safety of residents and employees. Among those findings were that a larger number of nursing home residents died from COVID-19 than the New York State Department of Health's published nursing home data reflected, and may have been undercounted by as much as 50%. That should have been what caused him to resign in disgrace. But it wasn't. If killing his constituents and their grandparents wasn't enough, then what the fuck was? Andrew Cuomo and Trump have a few things in common. One of the main things is an entire Wikipedia page detailing the accusations of sexual harassment and misconduct each man has faced. The New York Attorney General investigated and found that Cuomo sexually harassed 11 women. Every prominent Democrat called for his resignation, including both New York Senators, Nancy Pelosi, Bill de Blasio, and Joe Biden. And so he did, leaving office in disgrace on August 24th, 2021.
And I think that given the circumstances, the best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing. And therefore, that's what I'll do.
A federal investigation found the number of women was actually 13. We'll get into that a little later. To conclude, this man's political career was certainly supposed to end that day, but somehow it didn't. And he is still running for mayor of New York City, despite losing the primary to Zohran Mamdani.
Hello, I'm Andrew Cuomo. And unless you've been living under a rock, you probably know that the Democratic primary did not go the way I had hoped. But as my grandfather used to say, she say no, you gotta go!
This race has affirmed my beliefs that Andrew Cuomo is a clear case study for everything wrong with the Democratic Party today, and the establishment Democrats are a disgrace to this country. Chapter 2. Vote blue no matter who, right? Right? Let's go back to 2020. I was out of high school. I was a major Bernie bro and was finally old enough to vote. I was so excited to see him win the Democratic primary and vote for him against Donald Trump. Except the wrong grandpa won the primary. I wasn't that excited to vote for Obama's washed-up sidekick.
Look, you have entire generation of young people beginning back in 2000 when the attack occurred on 9/11 that in fact have been behind the eight ball from the time they got out of school, whether it was high school or...
Neither was a huge part of the electorate that wanted a progressive candidate. So with the desperate need to beat Donald Trump came the famous liberal phrase, vote blue no matter who. Sure, it was marketed as a sound strategy to ensure Trump lost and Dems could win, vital House and Senate seats. And it ended up working because I, as well as majority of the country, voted for Biden. After all, I couldn't risk losing my melanin. Could you imagine the outrage if Bernie Sanders decided to run as an independent after losing to Biden in the primaries? Liberal media would have spent every single day verbally crucifying him. We would witness the most disgusting smear campaign ever seen. Liberal politicians, both private and publicly, would condemn it and tell him to drop out because you don't want to split the party vote and you need to show some unity. Because vote blue no matter who, after all, right? So, can someone explain to me where this well-deserved outrage is for Andrew Cuomo? He lost the Democratic nomination. He lost so badly that it was clear Zohran won with only the first choice votes being tallied. Cuomo is trying to split the party vote right now, and I don't see a single liberal politician condemning it. What happened to vote blue no matter who? They never believed in it. They used it as a convenient excuse to guilt trip and pressure you into voting for their cowardly, corrupt establishment candidates. Vote blue no matter who was just their way of keeping the progressive bloc of the party subservient when they appoint one of AIPAC's whores to be the party nominee. Every politician, especially the New York ones, that have yet to endorse Mamdani and have yet to condemn Cuomo for his grandiose display of fuckery, should all be ashamed. The same Democratic powers that be who made Biden drop out, because let's be honest, that was not of his own volition. They need to make Cuomo drop out. Whether that's Obama, Hillary, Pelosi, or whoever the fuck, they need to do their fucking job. If Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer were to grow some nuts and be the party leaders they're supposed to be, they would make statements urging Cuomo to drop out and support Mamdani, the Democratic nominee. Mind you, it's not only because they're both the minority leaders, but because both of them were elected to represent New York. Do your fucking job and represent New York. Chapter 3.1. Sexual misconduct is bad. This, unfortunately, is not obvious. I've witnessed liberals, rightfully so, mind you, criticize Trump for his accusations of sexual misconduct. Many have, once again rightfully so, stated that the credibility of such accusations warrants disqualification. Men with such accusations and ties to the likes of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell should not hold power. Pedophiles. In fact, I'd go as far to say they shouldn't even be allowed to. It is an expectation and an obligation for a party that champions women's rights to take a hard, uncompromising stance against sexual misconduct. The accusation of sexual misconduct should be disqualifying for Trump, or any politician for that matter, but it's not. Now is it? Here's my question to any and every establishment Democrat that backs Andrew Cuomo. You are supposed to be uncompromising in your stances to protect women. If Trump's accusations of sexual misconduct should bar him from holding office, why are you okay with Andrew Cuomo's when he had several credible accusations of sexual harassment towards multiple women? DOJ confirmed cases of sexual harassment. Your morality is only consistent with your enemies. When people on your side face accusations, it must have just been the wind, huh? This is why I detest you spineless, immoral roaches. Taking a hard stance against sexual harassment is not difficult. If a longtime friend of mine was accused by multiple women of sexual harassment, we're not friends anymore.
No.
Fuck how long we were friends for. It's irrelevant.
The gardeners have planted white roses when I specifically asked for red.
You could always paint the roses red.
What an odd thing to say.
And I certainly wouldn't be supporting that motherfucker's political campaign either. I would personally do whatever I can to ensure he never holds power because sex pests have no fucking place in our government. This should not be an unpopular stance. But false accusations, they'll say. If one woman accuses a man of sexual harassment with credible evidence, it's a safe bet that the man indeed did it. If 13 women accuse a man of sexual harassment with credible evidence, the man absolutely did that shit, full stop. How does the party of women's rights, feminism, and anti-Trump rhetoric rationalize backing this freaky-ass sex pest? They would rather support Uncle Touchy over here than support the Socialist, who is the official Democratic nominee. Not supporting Cuomo is not enough, no.
Not enough.
He needs to be publicly shamed and condemned by every politician who claims to be against sexual harassment. The refusal to do so is why abusers continue to victimize women and hold positions of power. You establishment Dems should be ashamed of yourselves. Chapter 3.2. Disgrace. Along with the multiple accusations of various acts of sexual misconduct, another reason Trump should not be president is his multiple impeachments. He literally holds the record right now. Since Trump has eroded and disregarded long-standing political norms, many might not even realize that the normal thing for politicians to do in these situations is to resign, even if that means leaving office in disgrace. For example, let's look at the other crooked Republican president, Nixon. Tricky Dick was certainly going to get impeached for the Watergate scandal. The Senate was going to convict his ass too. See, back then, while the politicians were still whores to imperialism and capitalism, upholding the law used to be a bipartisan stance. He knew he was cooked, they all knew he was cooked, so he resigned, knowing what he did. Hey, you know who else resigned in disgrace, knowing full well what they did? See, despite how much I loathe Nixon, at least he had the decency and sense to accept that the embarrassment of resigning in disgrace marked the end of his political career. Meanwhile, while Cuomo is out here proving he truly doesn't know the meaning of the words no, stop, or don't. Chapter 4. Anti-Semitism bad, but Islamophobia okay? Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. If you are truly committed to upholding anti-bigotry values, you would condemn all types of bigotry. You don't get to condemn misogyny and promote racism. You don't get to condemn racism and promote homophobia. This is just basic level of consistency in being against all forms of discrimination and bigotry. The Democratic Party, however, despite its hyper-focus on anti-Semitism, is a major agent of defending, upholding, and perpetuating Islamophobia. Such is on full display in this New York City race. Zohran has condemned anti-Semitism on multiple occasions. He has been very vocal about his intentions to be there for the Jewish community of New York City in any way they need him. Brad Lander, the most prominent and powerful Jewish politician in the city, cross-endorsed him. They cross-endorsed each other. He has vocally stated that Zohran will advocate for the Jewish community of New York. See, this higher standard being placed on Zohran to condemn anti-Semitism is caused by two factors. Liberal media and liberal politicians gargle so much AIPAC nuts, it pushes them to conflate Zionism with Judaism, and therefore anti-Zionism becomes anti-Semitism in their eyes. Zohran is a good person with a soul and therefore condemns Israel's genocide of the Palestinians. The other reason for this higher standard, Islamophobia. The majority of the accusations of anti-Semitism that Mamdani faces are caused by him being Muslim. So, no matter how many times he vocally advocates for Jewish New Yorkers, these bigoted liberals will associate his faith as inherently anti-Semitic, which is discriminatory. Has Cuomo or any of the establishment Democrats inside or outside New York at any point ever condemned Islamophobia? No.
I ask you about this because this was an issue in the 2018 campaign when you were running for re-election, when they said that in 7 years you had never visited a mosque.
I believe I have. I know I've participated in many forums.
What would you say to more than 760,000 Muslims here in the city about whether or not you would reach out to them, make them feel welcome, make them feel protected at a time when...
I would say we are a city of immigrants. I welcome them. I love them. I'm not Mr. Mamdani. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not divisive. I didn't say I would boycott Israel. I don't give forums.
New York holds the largest population of Muslims in the country. Why isn't anyone asking Cuomo if he condemns Islamophobia? Or if he thinks Palestine has a right to exist? They barely see Muslims as human beings. In many ways, they openly display their bigotry.
Also he was clarifying that he never said globalize the Intifada. He was asked in an interview if he would denounce the phrase globalize the Intifada. And then that led to this kind of conversation, that you were just referring to, but that he was never out there saying globalize the Intifada. He was asked about other people who used it. So just to be precise about what happened there. Yes?
Well, as a leader of a city as diverse as New York City, with 8 million people, as the largest Jewish population in the country, he should denounce it. And that's it. Period. And you can't celebrate it, you can't value it, you can't lift it up. And that is the challenge that Jewish New Yorkers have had, certainly since October 6th. October 7th. It is exactly what they have felt. It is why Jewish students in our universities have felt unsafe. It is why Jewish students have felt that their schools did not have their backs and cared about them or their learning, because the people doing these protests use words that have meanings that are far more violent and horrific than they may have intended. But when you hear things like intifada, when you hear things like jihad, when you hear from the river to the sea, it is received as slaughter the Jews and destroy Israel, period.
If Zohran said anything even in the same realm of hostility and bigotry about a Jewish candidate, his campaign would be over. Or the way the Cuomo campaign allegedly hit Zohran with the scary Muslim man ray and intentionally made his beard bigger and darker.
We found out that his super PAC was sending mail that artificially darkened and lengthened my beard to stoke the very fears of that division in this city.
But, of course, the liberals will act like nothing happened. Because, like I said earlier, it's only a racist action if a Republican does it. Liberals can't be racist. Chapter 5. Wrap up and transition. Liberals are extremely inconsistent in their morals. They pretend to be these paragons of social virtues, but in reality, these morals are only applied to those they deem as opposition and are never applied to hold fellow Democrats accountable. The lack of accountability for their own actions and consistency in morality are some of the top issues that made me leave the Democratic Party. And they'll never learn.
New Yorkers have stood up for a city they can afford, a city where they can do more than just struggle, where hard work is repaid with a stable life, where rent-stabilized apartments are actually stabilized, where buses are fast and free, where childcare doesn't cost more than CUNY, and where public safety keeps us truly safe. And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism, to stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbor, to govern our city as a model for the Democratic Party, a party where we fight for working people with no apology.
Chapter 6.1. Zohran Mamdani, The Left's New Hope. For years, I lamented the fact that there weren't many mainstream leftist politicians. Sure, I don't think we'll ever elect ourselves to freedom, but I think the success of a progressive politician displays the level of class consciousness we currently have as a collective. Then came Zohran Mamdani, an open socialist running to be mayor of the largest city in the country, one he actually lives in. Despite the smears, discreditment, and bigotry pushed by the establishment in his direction, he won the Democratic primary. Mamdani is a hopeful example of what the Democratic Party can and should be. Chapter 6.2. Who is Zohran Mamdani?
In the words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it is done. My friends, we have done it. I will be your Democratic nominee for the mayor of New York City.
Zohran Kwame Mamdani is a New York politician. He was born in Uganda to two absolutely based parents, immigrated to New York around the time he was 7. Admittedly, his biography will be significantly shorter than Cuomo's. He doesn't have as extensive a career as a politician as Cuomo does, but that is honestly a good thing, as we as a collective are sick of career politicians. Longtime career politicians, at least. Before becoming a New York State Assemblyman, he was a rapper. I actually kind of fuck with some of his songs. Mr. Cardamom would have had some hits if he kept it up longer.
Got a great grandkid, man, Buccaneers. Wrapped in the shawl just in case I cool breeze, but you never catch me, better just catch Sace.
But alas, I'm glad he chose politics. I'm sure he is too. He beat a 4-term incumbent in 2020 and has been the state assemblyman since. Then came his campaign for mayor of New York City, where he won the Democratic nomination and will hopefully win the whole thing. Seeing the frustrations and confusion of the establishment Democrats reacting to his historic victory perfectly displays that the socialists are actually in touch with the working class, while the liberals are not. So let's talk about why he won. Chapter 7.1. Socialist policies are popular policies. Much to the frustration of the establishment Democrats, the voting base yearns for socialism. Sure, we haven't reached a level of revolutionary class consciousness yet, but we're getting closer, and it's scaring the fuck out of them. The popularity of socialism is clearly evident in the policies that are popular today. These policies are radical in the eyes of the ruling class and capitalistic cucks, but seem like common sense policies to much of the working class. These are the policies that gave Mamdani the win. Free buses are a socialist policy. Transportation reform is a popular policy group. We want walkable cities with easy, affordable, clean public transportation to get from point A to point B for further distances. The liberal talking point criticizing this bill is, safety. If people don't feel safe on the bus, then making it free will allow the scary poor people to share space with the delicate masses, right? Well, you see, Zohran's plan for the Department of Community Safety accounts for this.
CS. This new agency will coordinate a whole-of-government approach to protect New Yorkers like never before.
But, it's easy to ignore this. And honestly, if they were genuinely concerned about safety, they would also acknowledge that most crimes are crimes of poverty. Therefore, the solution to crime doesn't rely on criminalizing and stigmatizing poor people, but providing them with the resources to lift themselves out of poverty.
Public safety is created by stable homes, good-paying work, and well-resourced neighborhoods. Addressing these issues are at the core of our campaign.
Public transportation should be treated as a right, or at the very least, an affordable necessity. The same goes for rent freezes and affordable housing. New York City is notoriously expensive to live in, and it doesn't need to be that bad. The people were fed up, so they really vibe with this policy. The only people who would have an issue with this policy are the soulless, greedy fucking leeches that make money from selling a human right. Every individual has the right to be housed. The opposition is very lucky Mamdani is just a democratic socialist and not a Maoist. Government-owned grocery stores are also a great way of addressing the grocery affordability crisis. Why would this not be a liked policy? We have government-owned housing, parks, transportation, roads, schools, literally everything else. But we draw the line at grocery stores? Liberals who disagree with these policies only do so because they don't like where the money is going to come from. Taxing their sugar daddies. Oh no! Won't someone think of the oppressed ruling class being forced to pay a fraction of their fair share of fucking taxes? They have their heads so far up these rich people's assholes, they can't see the writing on the wall. The people are tired of being exploited. Chapter 7.2. No, liberals, it's not just good messaging. I will not diminish the power of messaging in Mamdani's campaign. His energy, good looks, and personality certainly helped him. But the real power came from the vocalization of concrete policy. The people were hungry for solutions, and he came with a metric fuck ton of them. The establishment Democrats restrict their compliments and congratulations to just, he ran a good campaign.
You're going to be endorsing Zohran Mamdani?
What are your thoughts on candidates?
I'll be meeting with him. We had a good conversation. He's run a good campaign. I'll be meeting with him.
And not, hey, so these socialist policies are clearly popular, and maybe we can regain public trust and faith if we, uplift more leaders like Mamdani instead of old, washed-up capitalist gawkers. Who are you trying to fool? It's not a messaging issue. It's a policy issue. We as a collective are reaching our wits' end with late-stage capitalism. And we're going to look for any and all new solutions. Your culture war politics and lame buzzwords like, abundance, aren't sitting well with us. Chapter 8. We do not fuck with Israel. Using hindsight, I think this right here is the moment Mamdani won the campaign.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo?
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
Mr. Mamdani?
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
as a Jewish state?
As a state with equal rights.
He won't say it has a right to exist as a Jewish state. Be very clear.
And his answer was no, he won't visit Israel.
I said that.
That's what he was trying to say.
No. Unlike you, I answer questions very directly.
The Democratic base overwhelmingly now does not fuck with Israel. I wonder what could have possibly transpired over the past 2 years that could have, led to this change. Maybe it had something to do with witnessing the most well-documented genocide in history. The left does not fuck with Israel. Having a positive opinion of Israel or a complacent stance on the Gaza genocide will fuck you up, especially now. If I were a betting man, gambling, I would wager that in 2028, the Democratic nominee for president will have a far less positive stance on Israel. I also feel like it must be stated how utterly ridiculous the Israel questions are, especially for this particular race. They're running for mayor of New York City. Tel Aviv and Haifa are not fucking boroughs of New York. Why the fuck are they asking a candidate for the mayor of an American city about a foreign nation? It is a completely irrelevant question. The large community of Jewish people in the city does not justify this question. New York has the highest population of Asian Americans in the country, too. Not a single soul is asking Cuomo questions about Barbados' right to exist. Why does Israel deserve this ridiculous special treatment? All it does, at the end of the day, is enable further anti-Semitic rhetoric. Chapter 9. Priorities. The thing that's pissing me off the most about the hate and pushback Zohran is receiving is the fact that Democrats got their priorities all the way fucked up once more. The Trump administration and the Republican Party are actively destroying our country. Rather than have a spine and be an actual opposition party, they would rather fight the progressives. They have treated Zohran, the literal Democratic nominee, with far more scrutiny, aggression, and smearing than they would to any Republican today. The reason is simple. Zohran is a threat to the ruling capitalistic class and a potential hero to the working class. The establishment Democrats, while pretending to serve the people, will always exist to serve capitalism, imperialism, Zionism, and American exceptionalism. They are pro-war, they hate the working class, and will go face down, ass up with no hesitation for any individual or organization paying them enough money. Whether that's AIPAC, an individual billionaire, or anything with enough money to buy a politician's soul. Anyone who dares to reject their masters will face their wrath. Part 3. Why would a commie support a self-proclaimed democratic socialist? As I mentioned in passing in the beginning, I hold beliefs that are left to Zohran Mamdani's. So why am I in unflinching support of someone like that? Well, there are a few reasons. First, honestly, I find it very difficult to not like Zohran Mamdani. He ran a campaign of concrete changes, openly socialist policies, and radical hope that change is indeed possible. This shines a bright light on the shadow of doomerism being cast by the fascist and complacent liberals. Sure, he's not Superman, but he is a symbol of hope for the real left. I don't see him as the same as a liberal and a conservative for participating in the system like my comrades do. I don't see democratic socialism as a half measure like many of my comrades do. I see men like Zohran, policies pushed by his campaign, and the democratic socialist ability to overtake the Democratic Party as a necessary step in the right direction. The right direction for the revolution, the right direction for the Democratic Party, and the right direction for the American people. So I need you, radical, belligerent leftists, to understand words like communism still scare people. So shitting on the man who is openly calling himself a socialist and still winning people over is literally self-victimization. You're fucking yourself over here. To destigmatize communism, we must first destigmatize socialism. And that is exactly what Mamdani and his campaign are doing. Communism may be the future in my eyes, but Zohran Mamdani is the present, and we must accept that and support the movement in any way we can. More politicians like him and the Democratic Party, which I once loved, can become a political party that actually represents the working class people of America, the diverse working class people of America. Conclusion. Dear Andrew Cuomo, within you, I see everything I despise about politicians. Being a sore loser, hopefully soon a double sore loser, is unfortunately your most positive trait. You are a disgusting parasite. You aren't running to support the working class people of New York. You are running because you are addicted to power. That's why you're running for a position in a place you don't even live in. That's why you allegedly sexually harassed 13 women. Men like you are malignant cancer on our society. If the Democratic Party had some sense, they would publicly condemn you and privately demand that you leave politics for the rest of your life. If you had a shred of integrity, you would accept your loss and drop out. But as you consistently display, you do not know the meaning of the word no. Dear Democratic establishment, continue to reject the progressive wave, and you will inevitably be drowned by it. Dear Zohran Mamdani, I hope you can win this race and bring about all the change you seek. The people of New York City need your leadership. The Democratic Party needs hundreds of you to take the party for the working class. I appreciate your honesty, your policies, and for running a campaign of hope that truly touched the hearts of Americans even outside of New York. Thank you. Dear viewer, thank you for making it all the way to the end. This is certainly the longest thing I ever wrote. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe, and so I know to make more content like this. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me things you wish I discussed more or some other interesting perspectives. I would love to hear from all of you. Peace.